Well, hello there, and welcome to another beautiful night for a night chat right here on Tommy Travels the Second. And I have actually had some pretty good responses from these night chats. We've predicted the future, we've talked about UFOs, Bigfoot, and they've been going pretty well. People seem to like them, so we're going to try another one tonight. And in a previous one, I had mentioned something about near-death experiences, and I mentioned that I could probably do a whole episode on one of those. So tonight, we're going to do just that. And so if you are brand new to this channel, go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on a thing. And you guys, I will see you right after this. And so I want to start off by saying that this is not going to be a religious conversation tonight. This doesn't really have much to do with the topic of religion per se. Whatever your religious beliefs or non-beliefs are, that is completely your business, and it doesn't really pertain to this. And I say that because near-death experiences have been happening all over the world across many generations, practically since the beginning of human history, but especially within the last few generations as we have advanced in our medical technology, and we've had the ability to bring people who have been pronounced clinically dead on the operating table, and some of them have been dead for quite a lengthy amount of time, and we can still bring them back. It's unbelievable to me. And these people are across all types of religions, backgrounds, and languages, and they all come back with a similar story. And that's what's amazing to me. And so that's what this topic is going to be about tonight. And I'm just saying this because I don't want to see any arguments in regards to religion in the comments section. I didn't really need to say that because my subscribers are cool and they don't debate with each other in the comments. And so I've never had a near-death experience before, but the topic interests me because I have met someone who has. When I was going to college, this was a while ago, I had a teacher of a communications class who was talking about it to us. I don't know how it got brought up. It wasn't part of the class or anything, but it just kind of turned into that. And she said that she had some complications during a pregnancy, and for a short time she was clinically dead. And she described the whole out-of-body experience, floating up and seeing the light and everything like that. And what really struck me about it, because the story was very similar to other ones that you hear, there wasn't anything terribly unique about it, but one thing that really caught me was that she described what it's like when you have that out-of-body experience. She said that, when you're in your body, you can feel everything, the weight of your body, the itch. I just scratched my chin here because I had an itch. That wasn't something that I was really consciously thinking about. There was an itch and I scratched it. Or your foot hurts, or even if you're in great shape and you feel great, there's just your gravity pulls you down to earth. And she said, when you're out of body, that's all gone. There's no, I have to go to the bathroom and I should really do my hair and I've got this going, no little aches or pains or anything like that. It's just completely free. And that's what really struck me about it, is for her to be able to describe that feeling in such detail, because I don't think I'm even doing it justice, but to be able to describe that made me really believe that she did experience it. And so ever since then, I've always been fascinated by these types of stories. And hers went on to say that she did go towards the light and she did see family members, and then she did hear a voice of what she perceived to be God asking her if she wanted to stay or go back. And because she was in a situation where she was delivering a baby, she thought that she would be better off going back for the baby's sake. And that's what happened. She came back. And she has always told herself that if she's ever faced with that decision again, she will stay there. And that's really saying something as far as, how cool that experience is. And that's what I want to talk about next. Now, if you've never had a near-death experience before and you don't know anyone who has, or you're not familiar with the topic, well, I don't really need to put links in the description below, because really all you have to do is search on YouTube near-death experience, or NDE as they're called now, because everything has to be abbreviated and put into acronym form these days, it seems like. But if you do that, you'll find a ton of different people with first-hand accounts of that experience. And you'll find a lot of similarities between all of them, in that at some point they die and then float above their bodies. Now some float above their bodies for a while and they can tell doctors when they wake up who did what and what all happened. Some more or less just see darkness and then they see a pinpoint of light way off in the distance. And then they start moving very rapidly towards that light. And it gets bigger and bigger, and as that happens, they hear sometimes music playing of beautiful, beautiful sounds that can't even be described here on Earth. They start to see colors and things that we can't imagine here on Earth. And that light starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they get closer. And pretty much everyone that you hear that has that type of experience talks about the unconditional love that they feel. I mean, absolutely more than any type of a relationship we experience on Earth between husband and wife, parent-child, boyfriend-girlfriend, brother-sister, brother-brother, whatever the relationship is, that, or someone that you are the very closest with in your life. It's something even beyond that, just unconditional, total, complete love. And I think that's part of the reason that when a lot of people have these types of experiences, if they do come back, which all of them that tell the stories do come back, but because they've either chosen to come back or were forced to come back, sometimes they can be a little bitter about the fact that they came back. Some of them are that chose, hey, I've got a kid I needed to come back for. They're okay with it, but the teacher that I knew, she was like, if it happens again, I'm staying. It doesn't matter. I don't care. And then people that are forced to come back, they can be quite angry for a while because they want to go back and feel that unconditional love. And so that must be really something to deal with when you come back after experiencing that. Like, how do you deal with that? You were just in this beautiful, wonderful place that you were going to spend all eternity in, and now you're back in snow-filled Minnesota. It's going to be below zero this weekend. I just can't fathom it. Now, some people don't make it all the way through the tunnel. At some point during their journey to the light, they hear a voice or something that says, it's not your time. And then boom, just like that, they're back. And that's the end of that experience. But for a lot of others, though, they make it all the way to the light. And there's a lot of stories about that as well. Seeing this beautiful kingdom of where the flowers and the nature and just absolute complete beauty. Even the flowers seem to be alive and singing, and just completely not something that we can even fathom in human words, I think, is pretty much the common description that you hear. And then some people will see relatives that have passed away many years before, and they look young and beautiful and vibrant. and everyone is happy. They feel all that complete love. And then at some point, they talk about going through a life review. And this is the other thing that really is interesting to me, because all growing up I've thought of a life review as something very judgy. Like, this is what's going to determine if you're going to stay up here or go down there. You're in or out. It's all dependent on this. And your life review, then you have to sit through your entire life. And I was like, that is not something I'm looking forward to. And the experiences that I've heard about that, they've said that the review, the life review, is really more for you and for your learning experience. Everyone looks at their life and goes like, oh my gosh. And then we would get to that point and, oh, how embarrassing will that be? Well, it's not like that. It's not embarrassing at all. There's no judgment involved with it. It's so that you can learn something from the life that you lived here on earth to take with you into heaven, and through all of your experiences, it brings it all together for you and makes sense of everything for you. That's the feeling and impression that I get from the multiple stories that I've heard. You can almost call it research, because I've watched quite a few of these near-death experiences on YouTube before I did this video. And so that part is really interesting to me, because if you think of a life review as something that's more for you, it makes me feel a lot less anxious about that part of death. And so I don't know if anyone else has heard stories like that before about the life review, but if you have, leave a comment below. I'd be interested in hearing about it. Or if you've had any types of encounters with near-death experience yourself, or a friend or family member who has had one, that would be interesting to know as well. And so at some point after the whole life review thing, the folks that have had near-death experiences talk about the fact that they're presented with either a choice: do you want to stay or do you want to go back? And obviously the ones that we hear about decided to come back for whatever reasons. Like the teacher that I know, she was having a baby. That's a pretty good reason to come back. Others, it could be kids related, it could be husband or wife related, or whatever the reasoning is, they come back. Others are told that their mission here on earth is not quite complete, and there are some things that they need to do still, and so they're told that they have to come back. But in either case, as it turns out, if you listen to these stories all the way through, you'll find that a lot of these people, their lives are completely different when they do come back. They no longer fear death, for example. Some people are completely afraid to die, and now they're like, well, I know what happens after that. They say things like, death doesn't actually exist. When you die here on earth, you're just gone. And when you see your body laying there on the ground or on the table or whatever, you don't really feel that attachment to it. It's like, oh yeah, that happened down there. Oh well, let's go over here. It's just like a shell. I know that I've been to funerals and I've seen, open casket type of funerals, and I don't want to get too macabre or anything, but even if it's somebody in there that you know and love and have known your whole entire life, when you look at that body, it's like they're not there. It is just like looking at a shell. An empty shell at that. And so what these people are saying is your spirit is elsewhere. It's not there. It is up there. And so that's what is fascinating to me about this. And these people go on to live completely different lives, a lot of them. They'll go on to, maybe they'll be going to the clergy. People write books. They might lead a support group. They could do motivational speeches across the country. There's all sorts of different career paths that these people will go down as a result of this experience. And So this whole thing from beginning to end is just absolutely fascinating to me. Well, you guys, this has been another interesting and fun conversation here about near-death experiences, or NDEs as they call them nowadays, here on Tommy Travels the Second. And if you guys have anything to add about this topic, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and hit like on my YouTube channel. And of course, go ahead and hit subscribe and the little bell notification next to it so you can be the first to know when a new adventure comes out. And thank you guys so much for the support that you've given me so far. And until next time, I hope to catch you on the flip side. And so they come back, except for the ones that choose to stay, they don't come back. But for the ones that do, from what we know,